Hello everyone. For today's video will be all about the professional reflections through annotations. Okay, so this is based on the RPMS manuals made for the teachers and school heads. Okay, if you want to have a copy of this presentation, please watch the video from start to end. Thank you.
Before we continue our video, this is Mona Pecas de la Cruz. Please don't forget to like, share, leave a comment down below, and click the notification bell so that you'll get notified for my upcoming videos. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you!
Alright, so what are annotations? So a teacher's path towards personal growth and professional development involves reflection and learning in order to improve practice. One way of doing this is to become more actively engaged in the process of careful introspection and critical evaluation of your teaching practice. An essential step towards becoming a more reflective practitioner is through writing annotations in your professional development portfolios. Annotations are self-reflections, explanations, or presentational markups attached to documents, artifacts, or means of verification that you submit for the RPMS. They are important in instances when the evidences or artifacts presented in the teacher portfolios cannot capture the whole dynamics of the teaching and learning process. Further, annotations establish a connection between the evidences and the reader, thus facilitating the review of the portfolio. Okay, so this is how the annotation goes. So, let your annotation and speak for your MOVs. So, ganun ka-importante ang annotations when it comes to our portfolio because this will be your backup to your means of verification. Okay, so based on the RPMS manual, Figure 4.1 shows samples or different samples of annotations. It goes like this. I enjoy designing many different tasks for my students to do in class, whether individually, in pairs, or in groups. Sometimes, I need to remind myself that the students don't have the same ability levels, and so I have to be mindful about assigning tasks for the students appropriately. Okay. Another example is that it says here that in this lesson, what I meant to do was to incorporate knowledge of sports, specifically football, soccer, and link this to current news in sports about how the Philippine football team has been putting up a good fight against the more experienced teams in Asia, such as Japan and Korea. I noticed that some students were fans of the Philippine team. I can make use of their interest to engage them in the lesson. Discussing the game scores and other sports statistics can be a good application of simple math concepts. If I plan my lesson well, values integration along with math and PE can be included in the activities. Example that can be found in Figure 4.1. So when I follow the CBI, I always make sure that in the lesson I plan, the focus on integration of content within and across subject areas is clear so that at any time that an observer visits my class, they will see evidence on this. Ayun. Okay, so what is the importance of annotation? So annotations allow you to exercise reflective thinking. They help you describe your teaching experiences and explain instructional decisions. Annotations are important because they make your evidence speak on your behalf. Ayan. Okay, so napakadali na kahit hindi ka nakaharap sa reader mo, yung annotation will speak in behalf of your evidences or your MOVs. It can also highlight your professional strengths in teaching. Ayan. So, talagang hindi ka mahihirapan i-prove kung ano yung pinaka-strength mo. It also helps you to reflect on your teaching practices that pave the way for professional advancement. It can also describe your intentions, your goals, and purposes towards career growth. It also present and explain credentials required by the rater for ranking and promotion. And of course, make it easier for the rater to rate your performance. Okay, so if you have an annotation, again, it will be easier to both on the rater and the ratee sa pagbibigay ng rating ng performance mo for the whole school year. Okay, what do you annotate? When writing annotations, you need to present evidences of your best practices in various key result areas or craft. So the following are possibilities for annotations. First is the documents or artifacts that show your creativity and resourcefulness in teaching. Second is the evidence that fully satisfy the requirements of the performance indicators but do not clearly demonstrate their link to the indicators themselves. And lastly, classroom context that explains your teaching practice and the realities you face in the classroom, school, and community context. So these are the instances that you have to consider in writing your annotation. Again, palalakasin nito yung mga MOVs na meron ka sa iyong portfolio. Okay. So how do you write annotations? So annotation help your rater understand the story behind the MOV and be familiar with the documents being reviewed. The following may help you write annotations for a particular MOV in your RPMS portfolio. Step 1. Describe the means of verification that you want to annotate. Okay, so it's really important for you to describe it. So how are you going to describe it? So these are the following questions that may help you to describe your MOV. Okay, the first one is, what is your MOV all about? And the second one is, how does your MOV meet the class objective? Ano ba yung MOV mo? Let's say for example, yung prepare mong DLL. Pangalawa, paano ito nakatulong sa pag-meet mo sa CRA na yon, sa particular objective na yon? So let's say for example, ang tina-target mo doon is how do you manage your classroom? So pwede mong ilagay sa annotation doon na you do your group activities religiously. Alam na ng learners kung ano yung mga listening standards, grouping standards mo, reading standards. Step 2 is to reflect on your MOV. Or how are you going to reflect on your MOV? So again, we have guide questions for you to be guided. Letter A, how does your MOV meet your objective? So paano niya na-meet yung objective mo? Naipakita ba doon na 100% ng learners mo nag-participate in that particular activity? Or just 70% of them? Or less than 50% ng iyong learners lang ang nag-participate? Ba? So what do you wish to highlight in your MOV in relation to that objective? So ano ba yung gusto mong i-highlight? Let's say for example, sa number of participation ng iyong students. Let's say for example, very visible or very obvious na more than 50% ang nag-participate sa klase mo during your activity. So you can highlight that. What classroom context explain your practices as reflected in your MOV? So let's say for example, ang target mo nga doon sa indicator na yun ay yung participation ng bata. Paano ginawa mo? So let's say for example, ang ginawa mo is religiously conducting of group activities. Kaya kapag sinabi na natin group activities, alam na ng bata mo kung saan sila pupunta, saan sila pupwesto, how are they going to report, how are they going to synthesize their answers, something like that. Okay, again, based on the RPMS manuals, this is an example of annotation. So number 1, ito ang hindi nawawalang objective sa lahat ng school year na meron tayo. Applied knowledge of content within and across curriculum teaching content. So as we can see, marami tayong meron ditong mga iba't ibang means of verifications. Okay? So kung ang means of verification mo ay ang iyong lesson plan, ayan, ila-highlight mo lang yung integrations mo doon. And then, description of the MOV presented. So, the MOV presented was a lesson plan that showed integration of knowledge and content in physical education. Okay, so ganun that's how are you going to describe your MOV, which is your lesson plan. Okay, again, this is just for the sake of presentation. So nasa sayo kung ano, how will you describe your MOV. And this is the annotation. So in this lesson I incorporated knowledge of sports, specifically football, soccer, to my math lesson. So specific siya. Anong in-incorporate niya? Yung knowledge sa sports. So anong sports yon? Football or soccer. Saang lesson? Sa math lesson niya. To get students interested. So anong goal niya? His or her learner's interest on his or her topic sa kanyang math lesson. So I drew attention to the sports news about how the Philippine team had been putting up a good fight against more experienced teams in Asia such as Japan and Korea. Since nakita niya na ang klase niya is mas nakaka-relate dito sa sports na to and marami ang fun, sabi nga niya dun sa kanyang annotation kanina. Kaya ganito niya, kinatch yung attention ng kanyang learners. To apply math concept, I led the class in discussing the game scores and other sports statistics. And then, dinescribe niya kung paano niya nilid yung class niya. So, nilid niya through discussing the game scores and other sports statistics. My students were engaged. Ayan. So, as a result, dun sa pag-tap niya or pag-integrate niya ng sports is na-engage or engage yung kanyang students. So, I was able to deliver my lesson in math with an interesting focus on sports. Okay? So, ganun po yung naging flow or eto na yung mismo example ng actual annotations na ginamit po sa ating RPMS manual. What can you say about our video? For comments and suggestions, please type it on the comment section.
Thank you everyone for watching this video. Again, this is Mona Pecas de la Cruz, and please don't forget to like, share, leave a comment down below, and click the notification bell so that you'll get notified for my upcoming videos. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you and God bless.